Boruto's future is looking very bleak, whether it has to do with Momoshiki, Eida's omnipotence, or Kawaki's obsession with getting rid of him and every other Otsutsuki in existence. However, there's another issue I think everyone keeps forgetting about, and that's Code's intentions of feeding Boruto to the Ten-Tails stored in Jigen's dimension. Now you guys might not be worried about this happening since Boruto is the protagonist, so obviously Code won't succeed. And while I somewhat understand that position, I still beg to differ. You see, I believe that Boruto will get fed to the Ten-Tails at some point during the manga, but it won't be consumed and turned into a chakra fruit. He will instead absorb the Ten-Tails and become its Jinchuriki. For this to make sense, we need to first understand why Code needs to feed Boruto to the Ten-Tails and reference a certain event that took place in Naruto's manga.
It seems that my voice has finally managed to reach you.
Jigen, what? No, wait. Ishiki Otsutsuki?
So, in regards to Code's motivation for doing this, we have to go back to chapter 55 where Ishiki's soul presented himself to Code after his battle with Baryon mode Naruto. He said to him that his soul will dissipate shortly, but he cannot allow the Otsutsuki's will to be snuffed out as well. Not when they've devoured countless planets and continuously evolved over thousands of years. He then told Code to consecrate either Boruto or Kawaki to the Ten-Tails and cultivate the divine tree. That way Code can get the chakra fruit the tree creates. Now the end goal of all of this is so that Code can upgrade himself and become a brand new Otsutsuki. This makes perfect sense since, as explained by Amado, the Otsutsukis are alien parasites whose only goal is to devour the life of a planet. They accomplish this by planting a large divine tree in the ground, and its roots then grows deeply, reaching across every corner of the planet and sucks the chakra from all living things. This tree then produces a chakra fruit once it has finished absorbing everything. These chakra fruits are explained to be large lumps of tremendous energy and genetic information. Otsutsukis continuously update themselves by eating these fruits, and that's how they evolve. This of course explains the logic of Code consuming this chakra fruit, then updating himself and evolving as well. However, there's one missing thing. Why would Code consuming a chakra fruit make him an Otsutsuki? And why does he need to feed Boruto or Kawaki to the tree in order to attain this fruit? Well, as Amado later explained, Otsutsuki's always utilize a Ten-Tails when assaulting a planet, because the Ten-Tails is what becomes the divine tree. The Ten-Tails is a seedling they first plant into the ground, which grows into the divine tree and consumes the planet, thus bearing a chakra fruit. The important thing to note is that you can't just bury the Ten-Tails in the soil then add water for it to become a divine tree. There's one special condition that must be met. That being, you must feed a living Otsutsuki to the Ten-Tails. This is actually why the Otsutsukis travel in pairs, because one needs to be fed to the god tree while the other Otsutsuki procures the fruit itself. This also explains why Code needs to feed Boruto to the god tree in order to bear this fruit. This of course leads into Code becoming an Otsutsuki, since feeding Boruto to the Ten-Tails would introduce Otsutsuki DNA into the process of molding the fruit. So eating this fruit, which now consists of Boruto's DNA, Boruto who's confirmed to be 100% pure Otsutsuki, would allow Code himself to become an Otsutsuki. With that being said, I believe that this plan will backfire on Code, since it's possible that Boruto may absorb the Ten-Tails instead. You see, a situation like this already played out with Madara during the war. This part is very interesting since Madara became the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki by absorbing all the tail beasts into the Gedo statue, then absorbing the Gedo statue itself. The reason why this is interesting is because Obito, who was the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki before Madara, had let out the Ten-Tails prior in the form of the God Tree, because as we confirmed earlier, the Ten-Tails is what becomes the God Tree. However, for some reason, he was still able to remain the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, despite the Ten-Tails itself being outside of his body. What's also confusing is that this tree was still there after Madara absorbed all the Biju into the Gedo statue and absorbed the statue to become the new Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. So this part is a little weird. How is the Ten-Tails the same as the God Tree, but Madara didn't need to absorb the God Tree to become the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki? And just to clarify, the God Tree that was there wasn't just a bud or a regular tree, it was the Ten-Tails itself, since it spoke to Madara and asked him to absorb it, which Madara later ended up doing. But let's put that aside for now. Let's say the logic itself is correct. The Ten-Tails is the God Tree and you can become the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, by absorbing the Ten Tails. I believe that Boruto, just like Madara, will take the Ten Tails into himself, thus awakening insane amounts of power. We have to remember that Boruto is now 100% pure Otsutsuki at this point in the story, and the Ten Tails themselves are like pets to the Otsutsuki. And while I do understand that the Otsutsukis are fed to the Ten Tails to bear the chakra fruit, that doesn't mean that this is a process they have to undergo. What I'm saying is that there's a difference between willingly feeding yourself to the Ten Tails and you being force-fed to the Ten Tails. So I can see a case where Boruto absorbs the beast through sheer willpower, similar to Madara, or by Momoshiki using one of his Renegon abilities. Now this might be how Boruto receives his chakra cloak form we saw in Kishimoto's drawings for Team 7. Now normally we wouldn't place much value on this, but given the fact that Mitsuki's Sage Mode design is now canon and Sarada's Mangekyo design is also now canon, it makes sense that this form for Boruto would also make it into the manga. Now I'm fully aware of the fact that most Boruto fans aren't interested in this particular chakra cloak light bulb design, but I think it's pretty cool. Even so, Kishimoto might just change his mind and allow him to have the power without the cloak design, since he can just, change his mind on stuff. And given the fact that Boruto is now 100% Otsutsuki again, it's possible that he might be able to fully utilize the power of the beast without undergoing such a transformation. This also brings up something very interesting. In chapter 64, when Boruto first used his true essence form, Code upon seeing this power initially thought it was Momoshiki in control, which is why he then stated that Boruto is quite a puzzle. Momoshiki's consciousness, why does it emerge to this degree when you're still only a vessel? Of course, it was later revealed that Boruto was still in control of his own body, he was just accessing more of Momoshiki's powerful chakra. But what Code initially said does imply that something is off with Boruto. Momoshiki should not be able to manifest in this way according to Code, which means that this information was likely relayed to Code by Amado. It could also be that Amado was lying or he just doesn't know, because at this point in time his only example was Kawaki and Code with Ishiki's karma. However, a key difference between Boruto and Kawaki is that Ishiki was still alive, unlike Momoshiki. So you could argue that Ishiki never manifested with Kawaki like this before because his soul was already linked to his own body. Or you could put on a tinfoil hat and say that Code's conclusion was true even though he lacked the information to make it. And if we go with that option, it's likely that Boruto just strongly inheriting the power and blood of the Otsutsuki makes it easier for him to resonate with Momoshiki, thus creating a deeper connection. This would of course lead to Boruto having more control over his Otsutsuki power, thus leading to him fully taming and absorbing the Ten Tails, leading to criminal levels of chakra. But you know what else is also criminal? 92% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So I'm sure you guys like the content to some degree since you're here, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be notified when I post new content.
Now I see. It appears you have strongly inherited the powers of the Otsutsuki.
Now, of course, we could get into the theory that Boruto also somehow got Shibai's cells through Taneri, which is why he's able to manifest the Jogan, and also why his horn, while in his Otsutsukified state, looks similar to Shibai's rather than Momoshiki's and all that jazz. These days, I'm more so favoring my other theory that Boruto inherited his Otsutsuki power from Kaguya, and that's also where he gained the Jogan. That I've also covered before, so I'll just link the video in the end cards. Now, what's interesting about this new power-up is that in addition to gaining a new Tail Beast chakra mode, Boruto would also gain mastery over Sage power. We have to remember that the Ten Tails itself is just a massive lump of chakra. That was confirmed by Code himself in chapter 78. However, chakra is not the same as nature energy, it's actually quite different. While chakra is the combination of your physical and mental energies, nature energy is a form of energy that exists in the atmosphere and the earth itself. Now, as I explained before, the Ten Tails is planted into the earth's soil, which then proceeds to absorb the nature energy along with every other living thing on the planet. This is why someone who becomes the Ten Tails Jinchuriki immediately gains Sage power. It all comes back to the mechanic of Sage mode itself, whereas the user gathers the nature energy in their surroundings and combines it with their own chakra. So this isn't really a theory. If Boruto does absorb the Ten Tails and its power, he will achieve Sage mode. Now there is one issue. Does the Ten Tails in Jigen's dimension possess nature energy? You see, we know nothing about the Ten Tails itself. We have no idea how it comes into existence, how it survives, or what's its genetic makeup. So we can't truly say that the Ten Tails is naturally just nature energy? What if it needs to absorb nature energy from a planet to consist of nature energy? What if the 10 tails in its natural state just has normal chakra? These questions will likely be answered later on in the timeline at some point, but until then it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I say this because we know that Jigen stored this 10 tails in his own dimension, and based on what we know about the 10 tails, it feeds off the energy of any given planet. Jigen's dimension, while lacking vegetation, does still have enough oxygen for Naruto, Sasuke, Jigen, Boru, and the entirety of Team 7 to breathe normally and have full-on battles. This simply means that this planet still has plenty of energy that hasn't been absorbed by this 10 tails. In addition to the fact that Jigen was able to absorb enough energy from this 10 tails that caused him to accidentally or involuntarily enter his strongest form. So while this 10 tails is considered a juvenile 10 tails and hasn't yet consumed an Otsutsuki at this point in time, its power is still immense, which means it's likely gathering the nature energy from this specific dimension. Now of course this isn't confirmed to be the case, but it's the most logical conclusion given what we know about the 10 tails and how it operates. So going with this premise, Boruto would attain Sage Mode or Sage Power by absorbing the 10 tails in Jigen's dimension. Now what's fascinating about this is that we've never seen an actual Otsutsuki use Sage Mode before. And before you guys head in the comments, Madara didn't become an Otsutsuki after becoming the 10 tails Jinchuriki, and neither did Obito. The forms they attained were like transformations since they returned to their normal form the moment they were separated from the 10 tails. This simply means that Madara and Obito were not altered at a genetic level to become an actual Otsutsuki. So if this theory proves true, Boruto would be the first Otsutsuki with Sage Mode as opposed to just using nature energy, which is possible without the mode itself. Now when it comes to the benefits of Sage Mode, it basically augments the ninja's physical attributes to superhuman levels. Strength, speed, and endurance are heightened, providing a significant edge in battle. The infusion of nature energy enhances sensory perception, allowing the user to detect even the slightest movements in their surroundings, rendering surprise attacks nearly impossible. Again, nearly impossible, not fully. Furthermore, Sage Mode greatly expands a shinobi's chakra reserves and control. This surplus of chakra not only fuels more powerful jutsus, but also enables sustained battles without fatigue. This part is actually very important since while in this state, Boruto will be able to rely on nature energy around him instead of needing to siphon it from the 10 tails like Jigen. That would also give him access to near endless supply of energy he can then use to refuel his stamina. Not only that, enhanced chakra control in this form would lead to more precise and potent techniques, increasing overall effectiveness in various situations. Now, Sage Mode itself is not just confined to just brute force, it also emphasizes strategic brilliance as well. The heightened perception from the form itself also facilitates tactical analysis, enabling the user to exploit an opponent's weaknesses and formulate battle plans similar to what Naruto did versus Pain. However, Sage Mode does demand discipline and skill. The constant synchronization with nature's energy requires concentration and control, making it a challenging state to maintain. Although this might not be difficult to Boruto since he would be using it through the 10 tails directly. Now, I did say earlier that the chakra mode we saw for Boruto in Kishimoto's drawing is likely a tail beast chakra mode due to the 10 tails, but I actually believe that this mode could be a Sage Mode transformation or a little bit of both. You see, a few months ago I made a theory about Mitsuki's Sage Mode, suggesting that his unique abilities stem from the combination of Orochimaru's experimentation and the infusion of 10 tails DNA. The 10 tails clearly being a source of powerful chakra and possesses a connection to nature energy itself. Orochimaru could have harnessed this connection to imbue Mitsuki with a distinctive Sage Mode, granting him the ability to access and manipulate vast amounts of chakra and the elemental forces that the 10 tails represents. Now, this theory more so aligns with Mitsuki's Sage Mode transformation, which differs from the traditional Sage Mode. His unique capabilities stem from the 10 tails DNA, granting him a more potent and adaptable form of Sage energy. Orochimaru's history of seeking power and manipulating genetics makes it plausible that he would exploit the 10 tails genetic potential to create a one-of-a-kind entity like Mitsuki. I also believe that Mitsuki's Sage Mode is a version of BARYON mode used by Naruto. In essence, I believe that this is a unique fusion of natural energy and BARYON mode's chakra exchange, resulting in an unprecedented form of ultimate power. So Orochimaru, who is well versed in the intricacies of Sage Mode, delved into the principles used by Baryon Mode, recognizing a potential to synchronize the two techniques. Of course, I'm referring to before Naruto used the form, because Orochimaru is very smart and could have just stumbled upon the technique itself, similar to Kurama. Now, how I rationalize this is that by infusing Sage Mode with the chakra exchange mechanism of Baryon Mode, he could achieve a fusion of enhanced physical abilities, heightened sensory perception, and the devastating energy manipulation of Baryon Mode. The central premise revolves around achieving a state of equilibrium between the natural energy harnessed in Sage Mode and the controlled chakra exchange of Baryon Mode. This fusion might require immense mastery over chakra control, as well as a deep understanding of the intricate workings of both techniques. The benefits of this is absolutely insane, because the user could draw upon the potential energy of nature to replenish the expended chakra, effectively extending the duration of Baryon Mode's heightened power. Additionally, the heightened sensory perception of Sage Mode might aid in better managing the delicate chakra balance necessary for the fusion. However, this Sage Mode version of Baryon Mode could come at a significant cost, because just as Baryon Mode consumes the chakras of both users involved, in Sage Mode, Mitsuki might need to sacrifice a portion of his own life force or vitality in exchange for the augmented power of the combined techniques. So this would actually explain why the power takes such a toll on Mitsuki's body and would actually kill him if used for too long. However, this would actually be different for Boruto, who has the extended life force due to being 100% pure Otsutsuki, beings that live for thousands of years. So he would be the perfect user for this form. So along with the power of the Karma Seal and possibly the Jogan, Boruto would be the most powerful entity in the entire universe. Now, there is another wonky side of this theory that I wanted to address as well. It's pretty wonky, it's pretty crazy, but it does make sense to some degree. And this has to do with code being infused with the Ten-Tails itself, or better yet, the Ten-Tails being infused with code. So if you go back to chapter 78, we see that code was able to kinda infuse these claw marks into the Ten-Tails itself. So he basically used these claw marks to squeeze the Ten-Tails and create miniature Ten-Tails. So these beings are now infused with Code's DNA and the Ten-Tails chakra as well. But there's one thing to note. So Code said something very interesting. He said that the claw marks consist of his own DNA. So basically the iron within his own blood, which consists of his DNA, of course, and also his chakra. And he basically kind of covered the entire Ten-Tails in these claw marks and left it in this state. So let's say, in theory, the Ten-Tails, when Boruto goes to absorb it, or when Code goes to feed Boruto to the Ten-Tails, let's say the Ten-Tails is still covered in these claw marks when Boruto absorbs the Ten-Tails and becomes the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. What would happen then? Because at that point, Boruto would have Code's DNA along with his chakra and the Ten-Tails within his own body. Now, I was playing around with the idea and thinking that maybe this would update Boruto's genetics in some way, but as I mentioned in this video, becoming the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki doesn't change you at a genetic level, it just gives you powers and chakra. It'll be similar to just becoming a Jinchuriki of any other tail beast, right? You don't change at a genetic level. Now, Naruto is kind of different since he was conceived while his mother had the tail beast, so it does seem like that is the reason why Naruto was affected at a genetic level, which is why it has the whiskers of the Nine-Tails as well. But then you have Kinkaku and Ginkaku, who after being swallowed by the Nine-Tails basically ate the stomach of the Nine-Tails. And remember, the Nine-Tails is pure chakra while also being a physical being, so it's kind of weird in that case, but they ate the Nine-Tails stomach and basically gained whiskers and the powers of the Nine-Tails. So there are some instances, some weird instances where this can happen, but not in general. So it's possible that Boruto might not be affected at a genetic level, but then you have the possibility that Code could just teleport using the claw marks on the tail beast to go into Boruto's stomach, which is kind of weird because you have to decide whether we can enter that space physically or you have to be in a mental state or just projecting your chakra, right? But since the claw marks would be physically inside Boruto along with the tail beast, it's possible that Code could just teleport inside of Boruto and Boruto just burst open and that would be it, right? So it's very similar to the idea of Ant-Man shrinking to a very small size and crawling up Thanos' rectum and just expanding and exploding Thanos. That could be how Code, kills Boruto because he has the claw marks inside himself. But then again, there might be some restrictions that prevents that from happening, Kishimoto has the pen, he can do anything he wants. But with that being said, I think that if Boruto absorbs the 10 tails, if Code can't teleport there, this might give Boruto additional powers because again, the 10 tails now has the claw marks which are infused with the chakra of Code, and Code's power is greater than Jigen. So this would be a plus for Boruto in my honest opinion. But with that being said, again, that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on my insane ramblings about Boruto gaining this power, that power, the sage power, the chakra mode and all that jazz. Do you think it makes sense? Do you think it makes no sense? The last 3 minutes of this video probably makes 0 sense, and I understand if you guys feel that way. I'm just rambling here at this point, but let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section. Drop a like if you like the video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.